With the Affordable Care Act open enrollment period coming to a close, millions of Americans are facing important decisions about their health coverage. Now, you have 2 days to review options, understand subsidies, and avoid gaps in coverage. Kathy Hempstead is a senior policy officer at the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, where she focuses on health policy, and she joins us this morning. Good morning to Kathy.
Good morning, Ken.
Good to have you on. And what most important things to know as the open enrollment deadline approaches this week?
Well, as you said, it is approaching. There are some states, including New York and New Jersey, that have actually extended that deadline till January 31st. But depending on where you're listening from, don't make any assumptions and check with healthcare.gov or your state exchange to be sure. But in most of the country, you're right, it does end on January 15th. And that's for coverage that starts February 1st. And as you've probably been hearing, we have the problem in the market this year that the enhanced premium tax credits expired at the end of 2025. So people in general are going to be seeing higher premiums than they did last year. Or if they're new to the marketplace, they may see higher premiums than they hoped or that what they anticipated. And what a lot of people are doing if they need to find a way to make a saving is to buy down to a plan with a lower actuarial value, like buying a bronze plan instead of a silver plan. And that is a way that people can make an accommodation to the fact that premiums are unfortunately higher this year than they were last year by quite a bit.
It's sad that anyone would have to do that, especially if they have certain doctors they're going to, certain things they're treating, and then all of a sudden you have to pay a lot more out of pocket because, of course, medical expenses have gone up at the same time that now the insurance expenses are going up. I mean, it's awful what so many people are going through. The good news, if there's any good news, is that what the ACA services about 7 to 14% of the population, depending on if you include the Medicaid folks, the enhanced Medicaid. So the question is, do we continue down that path or do we just look at rolling people who of the 7% into Medicaid or some kind of new enhanced plan that would help out and not force the premiums up so much?
Well, you're right that this is across the board. No matter where you are in your health insurance journey, you're seeing higher prices this year. There's increases in employer insurance. There's an increase in Medicare. I mean, this is an expensive year in terms of prices for services. And also there's just been increased utilization. You're right that the Affordable Care Act serves approximately 9% of the population. It's, varies a little bit state by state. But the truth is that people that get their coverage through the ACA are currently not eligible for coverage anywhere else. They don't qualify for Medicaid because their income's too high. They're not old enough for Medicare, and they're not getting an offer from their employer. So these are your small business owners, your self-employed folks, your
Mhm.
entrepreneurs, your people, maybe they're early retirees, they're family caregivers. These are people that really do need the coverage. And it's very unfortunate that the premiums have gone up so much. But I do want people to understand that if they buy down to bronze, they're getting the same coverage. The coverage is the same. The financing of it is a little bit different. So you're going to pay less month to month, but you're going to pay a little bit more out of pocket when you go to the doctor. And that's going to be hard for a lot of people. But in terms of having the coverage you need when really serious things happen to you, all the metal levels are exactly the same in terms of the coverage that they offer. And I'd also just say that, Congress is still making some noises about doing something about these enhanced premium tax credits. So it's possible that later in the year we might see a fix. And if we do see a fix, there will be probably an opportunity for people to go back to the marketplace and choose a different plan.
It would be interesting because I know the president called in now a number of the leaders of the health insurance companies. And one of the complaints, of course, since, of course, the tragic murder of the head of United Healthcare, one of the complaints was that, well, and not to justify and not to say, not to conflate or anything, but the healthcare industry is charging enormous rates. That we all know. It's huge, and they're making enormous profits. So I know the president has called in the heads of those healthcare organizations and said, "Hey, look, you got to do something about this. You got to chip it down a lot." I understand the reasoning, the rationale for the healthcare industry. There are good years and there are bad years. So last year we did really well. Next year we might not because it's hard to predict what'll happen, right, with healthcare. But it's at a point where you have, as we're talking about, so many people who are uninsured, underinsured, can't afford. This is life or death for so many people, and so we can only hope that there's some resolution and the healthcare industry steps it up and says, okay, yeah, you're right. We'll cut back. Don't know. I'm not holding my breath, but we can only hope, doctor, because aside from maybe creating sort of an enhanced Medicaid that will make more people eligible, maybe at the people we talked about, the people who work as freelancers, private business, et cetera, maybe they could come on and there might be some compromise. Other than that, this is very scary for a lot of Americans who may not be able to pay more per visit, like we're talking about, even though they'll get the coverage. And I know people like this, and I'm sure you do too.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, I think this whole episode that we're having with the Affordable Care Act in combination with the problems that we're having in other segments, I think are really making people ask a lot of questions about the system that we have, and how well does it really work for everyone, and would there be a better and cheaper way to provide more coverage to more people? And I think the answer is certainly yes. And as for the health insurance companies, we could have a whole show about all the all the things they have done to earn a lot of opprobrium from people in recent years, and there are some Senate hearings about that right now. But I just want to point out that in the Affordable Care Act, they are limited to a certain return. And if they actually price too high and retain too much money after paying claims, they have to issue refunds to people. So I think that, there's perhaps a little bit of theatrics going on with the president and his meeting with the health insurers, but the idea that they're price gouging and could just turn the knob down and all of a sudden coverage would be affordable, I don't think that's going to be the outcome that we'll see from that kind of meeting. So I'm kind of curious to see what is actually discussed and what the optics are after that takes place.
I'm glad you clarified that, doctor, because I was not aware of that. I didn't know that there were limits imposed. And yes, wait, this presidency, theatrics? Theatrics is his middle name. Amazing. Doctor, I know we have until Thursday for much of the country and until the 31st or the 30th, the end of the month, right? For the rest of
Thirty-first
for
for
our area.
quite a few states, but don't jump to that conclusion. Wherever you live, take a look, go to healthcare.gov or go to your state exchange if you know what it is, and see what your date is for you so that you don't miss the boat.
Glad you said that because we have California now who's on. We have a separate channel in California watching. So we'll get this nailed down. Hopefully, the Senior Policy Officer at the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, Dr. Kathy Hempstead. Thank you for coming on this morning. Please, would you come back maybe at the end of the month when everybody is
Anytime.
done? We'll address this again. Appreciate you coming
Yes,
on,
maybe
Doctor.
we'll have
Have a
some
great
good
day.
news. Thanks, Ken.
Hopefully, yes. Thank you, Doctor.